Hey everyone, welcome back to Old World Legends, where we focus on growing the community. I'm your host Mike, and with me as always is Evan.
Hell yeah, I am here. Who I cursed at the beginning. Maybe that'll demonetize us.
No,
But we're
don't do that.
doing.
Let's not. We don't make a lot. We're talking about pennies here. Uh, but yeah, we're diving into our next Arcane Journal. So which one are we going to look at this time, Evan?
It's definitely the orcs and goblins. I didn't. You know what I didn't do? I didn't have an ear-piercing wog when we started the video, and I think people might be
Good.
disappointed. Um,
That's okay. Yeah, I've definitely won at the events. It's very hard when my voice is thrashed, but very critical, as every orc general knows. You will roll better if you wah at your opponent.
my wife
Um,
bought me a horn that I could bring. That's like for beastmen, where you can like blow it like the brave horn, and you actually have to. It's like it's an instrument. Like you don't just blow through it. Like you have to like learn how to play it. So, but I'm too
I have
unsophisticated.
yet to see you use that at one of our 2-day events.
That would be very annoying, but I might do it. Okay.
Yeah, because the WAs aren't annoying. That's okay. Orcs are the best. So we got with the Arcane Journal, right? Orc and Goblin tribes. We got two lists in here, didn't we?
Yes,
So
and
Nomadic Waaagh was one, right?
yes, and then the Troll Horde's the other. And you look, both of them are really interesting and have a different way to play, and I like it. I like it a lot.
Yeah, this is definitely, I think, one of their more successful Arcane Journals. The number of Troll Horde armies we saw come out, and people still play. And no, they're not necessarily the most competitive list, but they sure are fun. And it sure is really cool to put a whole bunch of trolls on the table. And there's also a lot more magic items that came with this book, and the troll hag that you can take, right? With any, you don't have to take in a troll army. This is an awesome book. We definitely see a lot more troll lists. We definitely don't see as many nomadic Waaghs, but again, the nomadic Waaagh, a lot of things holding them back were kind of pre 151 when this came out, right? So there's a whole bunch of updates to the game since then, which I think makes this list very, very viable and a lot of fun. So let's dive in with the nomadic Waaagh first. So what do we got on our army comp?
So just to go over it, this is the like mounted list. So every character has to be on a something with swift stride. Essentially, it's got to be or a chariot. So we've got to have a chariot, a boar, a wolf, or a wyvern, or something like that. Um, that is a great vibe. And when you see the Nomadic, I think the Nomadic Waaagh might be one of my favorite armies of infamy for just when you see the actual armies on the table, it just looks great. And it makes sense because the orcs and goblins are like this horde that travels from place to place, burning everything down. So surely if they were all mounted, that would be even worse, right? They would be rushing across the plains before anyone could even organize the defenses. And I've always been the player who wants to fantasize about rallying my militia of troops to go and meet the hordes of invaders. That's my thing. But if you want to go burn down villages, this is the army for you. So start with the characters. We still have the Black Orc War Boss, or the Black Orc Big
Yep.
Boss in here. Um, if it's per
Hmm.
Black Orc Chariot, so that's cool. We don't see the
Yeah.
Black Orc
So that's
Chariot as
different.
much, but I do think that that's a perfectly viable build as well. We'll talk about the builds in a second. And then the other one is the 0 to 1 for the Orc War Boss or Weird Knob per 1,000 points. So
Hmm.
I guess technically you could have the Black Orc War Boss and then like two Weird Knobs in a 2,000 point list because they're not even in the same restriction, actually, right? Or if you're at 1,500, you could bring a Weird Knob and the Black Orc War Boss because they're not in the same slot. That's great. Um,
Yeah. Hmm.
People
Hmm.
often need to take advantage of that. Now, you also have the Orc Big Bosses, the Weird Boys, and the Goblin Bosses and Shamans. So there's no Night Goblins here, but also the Night Goblins don't really have mounts besides the Cave Squigs. Um, okay, and then in your core, this is the biggest place that's changed. You got the Wolf Riders and the Wolf Chariots. God, I love they're great and they're so cheap too. Like you can bring so
Hmm.
many of those damn things. If
Yeah,
your
and they're
generals,
super fast.
yeah. So secretly here we've got basically two builds. If your general is the Orc Boss, what that means a War Boss or a Big Boss, you can bring a Boar Boy unit as core. And if your general is the Black Orc Boss, you could bring the Boar Chariot as core. Now, we just talked in our most recent video about how when your core unit needs to score objectives and otherwise it can't score, then this means that people, generally speaking, have to take the Orc War Boss as the general to unlock those Boar Boys because you need some kind of big beefy unit to go and take the central objective. And otherwise, Boar Boys as a special choice wouldn't be allowed to score at all, and that is a big bummer sandwich. So I think that that's something that probably should change and hopefully will. Because I really like the Black Orc War Boss in this list with the Black Orc Chariot, and maybe even the Orc Big Boss on a chariot as well. You can just bring lots of chariots.
Yeah. But it's super cool combos here. You can see where they're going with kind of like that chariot style list or the boar boy style list. These are very orky in terms of what they do. And the Black Orc chariot being kind of a new thing is for this list is also super cool. So yeah, already really like a lot of those. So again, you want to go like all mounted cavalry. This is a really fun orc list to do that with.
It's also a really great list if you just really like running at your opponent and just being like, dude, you're gonna get
Yeah.
hit by something.
We're just gonna go. Let's go. Right. Just here's the horde. They're just running. They're coming right at you, and they are fast.
You know what?
Yeah.
If there was a list that was really good into the current meta of just everyone's a skirmisher and artillery, I bet this would be fantastic because you got a bunch of boar boys. Just bring crap loads of wolf riders and chariots, and you're just wall to wall. Your deployment zone is very fast. Sure, you're impetuous, but screw it. I don't care. And then you have all this swift stride stuff that a lot of those little skirmishers that usually are like to dodge and weave and run away, they're just going to get picked up by something, you know?
Yeah, but again, the impetuous thing used to be such a problem because it was 4 up, like I said, with the 151, where you could use your leadership test and you could use the leadership of like a Black Orc War Boss with leadership 9 or something. You are fairly reliable that you're not going to fail that impetuous test.
Yeah, that's super great. Love that because previously, by the way, it was that this army just every single model was impetuous. Impetuous was on a 4-up. That was very rough.
It was just too hard. Yeah.
Yes.
So, but now that's not the case. So I'd encourage everyone, if you shirked this army off in the past because of that impetuousness, and then you forgot about it, go take another look. It's quite a fun list.
Yeah. So if you take a Black Orc Warboss as the general, and then you can take one boar chariot. I think the boar chariot is only like 100 points or so because the regular one's only like 85. So this one would only be.
Yeah, we'll get into it.
Yeah. But yeah, so you end up having to take quite a lot of Goblin Wolf Riders, right? I really think that maybe you could have just had Boar Boys just be here no matter what. But anyway, we also have in special is you have any number of boar units and the boar chariots and the Snotling pump wagons, even though those are really slow. Okay. And then we have the Black Orc boar chariots in rare and giants. So this list is also kind of lacking in like that big monstering backup. But I think that the edition has actually been moving away from the non-character monsters recently. I think that they tend to get kind of shot to death. So maybe you're not missing out on some of those other slots that aren't here. We do have, however, one of those cases where this Army of Infamy is very limited. Like there is not a lot of options.
Nope.
And you got the mercenaries, you got, ogre bulls and bone grinders. Bringing the bone grinder, this might be a great list to bring the bone grinder with because that thing is great at chewing through massive blocks of infantry. There are so many things it can roll on its table that just kill 2 ranks of greatswords.
That's another thing that this book gave us. It gave everyone in that could take the bone grinder. It added the bone grinder as a mercenary unit to the game, which is awesome. Everyone's super excited to see that back. And again, it's not about it's the most competitive. There's that. It's have you seen the model? Have you seen the size of that thing? The people who have it, it's enormous. It's even bigger than the AOS Gargants. It's amazing, and it's just super fun to put it on the table.
I definitely agree. So let's look at the special rules because remember, what's super cool about the Army of Infamy is that it gives you at least some kind of a reason to play it because it does have some of these special rules. These are similar to like a detachment in 40k. If you're coming over here and you're like, 40k, maybe I want to try something new. This is like a detachment, right? And the Grand Army list, in a lot of times, doesn't have any rule at all. So the only thing it has is flexibility in unit choices, and then the armies over here have special rules. The first one we have is Cunning Hunters. So with the Nomadic Waaagh, any number of Goblin Wolf Riders have Ambush at the cost of 1 point per model. Guess what? Ambush used to be a nothing burger, and now it is freaking fantastic because sometimes you don't want your guys to show up early and just get shot off the table. And coming in behind the gun lines can be really critical, especially with fast cavalry that have potentially bows, stuff like that. I think that this is fantastic. The Goblin bosses and shamans that are on wolves can also have Ambush. Great, awesome.
Ambush is super fun. That's one of the really fun things about this list is the normal Orc and Goblin list is fairly limited on ability to ambush. This list has tons of things that could ambush and a really cool special character that makes it even better.
Yes. We have Hit 'em Fast, Hit 'em Hard. This one is for the Nomadic Waaagh. Any Orc model that's on a War Boar gets impact hits 1. Oh, crap. And they're made using the strength of the War Boar and have AP 1. Wow, that is great.
Really good. Yeah, because the boars
Yeah.
will now what does it say? What does it say for the strength again? Read it one more time.
It's so it'll be the strength of the boar, but remember the boar's strength kind of
Okay.
changes depending on whether they're charging, right? They've
Well,
Tusker.
that's the Tusker charge. No, that this account is. Let me go read it right now. If that actually increases the strength of the boar, or is it just his
Okay,
weapon
so it's
for
probably just the
itself? But
strength 3 AP1 impact hit most of the time, right?
well, you could unless you can upgrade to a biggin, because if he's a biggin boar boy unit, that also impacts the boar. So then it would be a strength 4 boar
Right,
unit
a
as well.
classic rules as written. Although, you know, to be honest, it kind of does make sense that if the orcs are
Evan, we've
bigger,
been
then
over
their
this.
mounts
Orcs are the
kind of need
best.
to be
They should
bigger.
have all the rules.
You're not biased at all. Like, so everyone's tired of me saying high elves need buffs, blah blah blah, snooze, Evan, go away. You have been secretly pumping so much propaganda about the orcs needing to be great.
Propaganda. And listen, this is facts. Everyone knows orcs are the best. This is pure facts. No one could argue that.
Yeah, Order
Uh,
227 over there is just pumping us full of all this messaging.
all right,
Yeah,
I'm
and
looking
zero
it
to
up
one
while you
boar
keep
boys mobs.
reading.
I'll keep going with the rules while you look at it.
Yeah, keep
Zero
going
to
because I'm
one
looking
get
it up.
to have Vanguard for 1 point. So you can't charge with Vanguard anymore, but you know what that also
No.
means? That if you Vanguard, you then can't get charge baited with Impetuous, because now, guess what? Can't charge. So if you put 5 little archer boys in front of me, then I'll just say hello, and I'll just go anywhere I want anyway,
Yeah,
and not
pro
be baited
tip.
out. So Vanguard, great. So this army can get up in your face freaking quick. Actually, I'm really just wondering at this point. I think the number one thing that's keeping this army from being competitive in the current meta is that you only have one boar boy unit that counts as quote unquote scoring. If they went with our comp, this army looks like it might be kind of nasty, because I think it would just be really good versus a lot of the stuff we see today. All right, we have hunting
Yeah,
packs.
so it's just the Tusker. His tusks count as his hand weapon. Yeah, that's what I thought. So it increases the strength of that weapon, not the strength, his base strength of his profile. So only being a big one. So that would still all of a sudden all the boars getting an additional strength 4 impact hit -1 on top of all their other attacks. And by the way, you know, boar boys have furious charge. Like that unit is awesome.
Well, I've been saying constantly that Wood Elf players are desperately trying to make Wild Riders work. Wild Riders are just toughness 3 boar boys. Like, boar boys already have all that crap, and they're just out there living their best life.
Boar boys
Being
also have
absolute.
3 up armor save.
Yeah, they have more armor. They're toughness 4, and they're cheaper. And and other than weapon skill, they're just living their best freaking life.
And they have choppas that work with their cavalry spears. This is why orcs are the best.
So the Goblin Wolf Rider mob in the Nomadic Waaagh army may exchange open order for skirmish rules with close order or horde special rules. So you can have close order and horde on your big Wolf Rider mob and bring several ranks. I've never seen almost anybody do that, but I think that it's better time than ever, because one of the number one things that matched the 151 change did was infantry just got like 5 extra combat res points to every single combat that happens, because they're close order, they outnumber you, they have more ranks than you, and they have a banner and all that stuff, and they just have so many more combat res points now that a lot of times cavalry hits them in the front and they just lose. So if you can make close order and horde and bring that ranks of 10 point per model wolf riders, do it. All right, we have on the move. So we have Nomadic Waaagh armies. They all have to be mounted, and then also the Black Orc bosses. So they're not subject to Dab Boys or Quell Impetuosity. So they don't get to do Quell Impetuosity, but you have an 18-inch Leadership 9 bubble, so you kind of Quell Impetuosity anyway, right?
Yeah, effectively, like the whole I quell impetuosity was more relevant before the impetuous change from the 4 up to the leadership, and now that you have the leadership, effectively, that kind of removed that. So now that orc kind of the army squabbles and the war bosses put them in line is kind of lost in the current edition. In previous editions, you would just do damage to the unit, whack, you just kill some models and they'd be fine. In this edition, they tried it with this impetuous, but because they realized the current impetuous was too punishing and they changed it, effectively that's kind of lost in that ripple effect right now. So we'll probably have to wait till edition 2 before they find what's the next version of that squabbling army.
I do think that maybe they ran out of time to test other ways to do the old orcs and goblins squabbling and fighting each other thing. I never liked the idea that they were just fighting each other, so they just stood there doing nothing that turn on a 1 out of 6. But Impetuous,
yeah, that was super not fun.
But then the problem is, then they made the core orc book where the best units in the book are the ones that don't have the special rule that makes you an orc, which is Impetuous.
Yeah, again,
I'm excited.
they didn't quite nail it. I think they did a lot of things really well in this edition, so many things, and they did a ton of great things in
Right.
151. This is a missed opportunity that, again, I think adds a lot of flavor to the army. I would like them to see take another crack at it in the future edition.
Maybe they just thought it was too hilarious if the Night Goblin player released their fanatics and then their Night Goblins went, "Hey everyone, we should charge," and they just charge through their own fanatics and get crushed. Like they just thought, no, so let's just not give them impetuous at all. That's fine, right?
I don't know.
I
Don't
personally
know.
think I would love that. I think that if you just had that gave the Night Goblins impetuous, that'd be great. All right, so we're doing Troll Horde next. So this one I really really love. Now it's not
It's really cool.
for the same reason as everybody else, because what everybody else loves is, ooh, trolls are core. That means I can have literally nothing but trolls. You can, but the reason I love
I
this is
mean,
because this is
that's
a
just great right there. Just stop. That's
sure.
that right there. That's just cool enough.
But everyone forgets that you can also just bring like the regular orcs, the regular goblins, and that kind of thing, and start filling out that not black orc, not night goblin list with those units. So you have trolls backing you up, but you can also just play regular orcs, regular goblins, and you still have all of the special rules on the orcs and on the goblins that you have on the trolls. So, for example, if you have the war boss on Wyvern in this list, and he takes the troll pants, he gets to reroll the regen save from those troll pants, which is
Yep.
quite strong.
Troll pants.
All right, so we have 50% can be spent on 0 to 1 war boss or weird knob per 1,000 points. Orc big bosses, orc weird knobs, goblin bosses, goblin shamans. So just like I said, there's no night goblins, there's no black orcs, but you do get troll hags as characters. So you can make one a general. That's pretty neat.
And the troll hag is just awesome. It's a little more points than the giant, but it's just so much better. And the biggest difference is besides they're more durable with the regen and other stuff. But the giant random table is okay. There's one, maybe two things I want to roll on this table, and then over half the table is really bad for me in the situation. I don't want to do it. The troll hag table, every single thing on the troll hag table is amazing. So it's like, yep, I'm just fun. Let's see what awesome things she does because every one of these results is awesome.
So in the core, it is 33% core, which is a big, oh, ouch. But what we do get to fill it in with some nice expensive trolls. So we have one troll mob per 1,000 points. So 2,000 point army, you can just bring 2 solitary trolls sitting running around by themselves if you want to try to minimize that. The only reason to do that is to try to like use some of those special rules I'm talking about. Or you can bring, some pretty decent trolls. If you're playing match play guide, then hey, now your trolls get to be scoring units as long as they don't fail stupidity that turn. So that's pretty cool. And then a 0 to 1 additional troll mob per troll hag taken. Now, usually the troll horde has 2 troll blobs in it. That's usually what I see. So you just take the 2 pretty medium-sized blobs of like 5 or 6, and then you just bring backup like boar boys and goblins and things. Now, I've been a huge proponent that the regular orcs and the regular goblins are perfectly fine units. They're great. It's just that
Mm-hmm.
black orcs are also really, really good, and night goblins are insane. But goblin mobs, you can bring 10 goblins in skirmish for 30 points. Just take a champion for 36 or something. That's a lot of little skirmishing bow guys. And sure, they're impetuous, but they're also 30 points. That's so cheap. And just
So
sure,
cheap.
you just run them around. Maybe they.
I love it. I love playing the orcs and goblins and just saying, and here is the horde, right?
Yeah,
And you
you have
just
so
take
many
up the whole
guides.
deployment zone, just pure orc intimidation. It's amazing. And then you're like, ha, look at your elf army. You got like 3 units. Here we go, lads. Yeah, orcs are the best.
Yeah, a little bit of pain. Okay. And look, orc boys are just such a cost-effective unit. Um, like per point, they're just cheaper like ogres because like ogres are just more points per wound and I think orcs can just really dish out a decent amount of good quality attacks. They can be skirmishers, they can be wizard bunkers, you can have a bow and a shield. So you can parry for a 4-up save and be T4 and have a bow for 5
Oh,
points, 6 points.
the base orcs are actually fantastic. It's
Yeah,
actually one of the best, if not the best, core point for point what you get out of it unit in the entire game for just a basic infantry. They're phenomenal. They have 2 challenges. One, the first one is fanatics exist, and everyone just defaults to that because fanatics are so powerful. Um, that's very real. And two, the model range, right? Not everybody likes the old orc models.
oh
Some people love them,
man,
right?
really?
It's a mix.
Oh man, I love the old orcs so much, and especially assembling them is fantastic because you just cut out a torso, cut out an ass, glue them together. Freaking
Yeah,
great.
and again, it's like again, everyone who plays, right? We have such a broad spectrum of
Yes.
people with just the new models, people with the old models, people with the really old models with the metal ones, people with just prints. Like, it's the whole gambit of all that stuff. So, but I definitely there is different opinions on different people liking different models, and for some people that is a barrier because the orc range is one of the older ones, a lot of it and such, and so it's just a thing. But again, main reason is not that. Main reason is fanatics are just so good. That's the main
Right.
reason.
And let's also just not skip over it. Orc mobs is also savage orcs. So you can use your savage orc models, you can put on some war paint, you can have frenzy, have an absolute party. That sounds great. You can have frenzied savage orcs with two hand weapons that are big uns and be skirmishers if you want. If you want to be
Yep.
psycho. Okay.
Yeah, because orcs are awesome.
So in special, you can bring any number of more trolls you want. You can bring the goblin wolf chariots to back you up. You have the boar boys mobs per 1,000 points. So that's all the boar boys you need. You got boar chariots, all the boar chariots you need backing you up, and you have giants. So one thing you don't have, by the way, is the troll hags in rare, which is what normally you get in the other books. So this troll hags have to be in the character slot. Now, what I actually recommend you do is bring your orc characters in character slot, because the troll hags don't have item slots. And I think in this game, if you don't get to buy any items, wow, is that a massive downside? Like, because buying the items and customizing it makes your character really cool, but also just very strong. And not being able to do that is a big bummer, I think.
You're not wrong, and that makes the troll hag even better. But honestly, the troll hag by herself, she's just great. Even just taking her rare in a grand army list.
Yeah.
The only tax you have to pay is taking that troll unit as well, and such. So that's why, again, if she didn't have the troll tax, I think we'd see her in every single orc and goblin army as an auto take. She's that good, and so much better than the basic giant for a little over 200 points. But it's the troll tax, which is why we always see her in the troll army, and we don't always see her in the grand army list. But super cool, and the model is amazing that they brought back that old model.
Right. I do think also that the troll mob suffers a little bit from there's no characters that can join the unit. The troll hag is a monster. She's too big. There's no like troll BSB who can go in there, give them a banner, let them reroll any of that kind of stuff. I think if they had that, you could have the troll Death Star. That could actually work and be kind of fun. So what are the special rules? First of all, anyone with regen can reroll the regen save against non-magical attacks. This includes your troll pants wearing wyvern guy.
Yeah, but most importantly, that's the magic sauce that makes the troll army viable. Is being able to reroll all your regen armor saves on the trolls. That
Sure.
rule right there. That's what makes the army tick.
Yeah, and if people don't have the magical attacks, then having a 5-up and then another 5-up to basically everything, including cannonballs and all that stuff, pretty fantastic. And if you just have a big blob of people that have that, pretty fantastic.
Yeah,
Right.
and now that they've actually changed multi-wound, so it's not one roll and you ignore them all or you suffer them all. Now that you roll per wound, it's actually better for regen saves.
Better.
You're more likely to not, you'll pass some of them rather than fail most of them. So it's actually better.
So we have Oi this way. So unless the character's fleeing, friendly troll mobs within the character troll army that are within command range.
Yeah, but you don't put any love into the orc talk. It's Oi this way. You got to put some effort into it.
No, I'm a Skaven guy. I choose Skaven over orcs. Okay, we have. If you have an orc shaman, a goblin shaman, or a troll hag, you can use their leadership instead. So actually, didn't even know that. So other than Ogdras, you can have other shamans and goblin shamans, and all of them can just give the trolls their leadership to make sure that they don't get stupid and get stuck.
Yep.
Great.
Yep.
Awesome.
That being said, shamans, anything goblin is not the highest leadership.
I think
an orc shaman could get to leadership 8. I think. Let me check.
So I think this list is an orc. If you want to have regular orcs, like not the black orcs, but the regular orcs or savage orcs.
Yeah, just orcs.
This is the list for you, because the savage orc, by the way, you can have the war boss buy him frenzy, because screw it, and you can still take that item for to give him regens. You could have the ward and the regen, and then just big expensive magic item. I really love any access to a ward save that's like not because I bought Talisman Protection, but for some other reason that I have a ward save. I find
it's just a super fun list. Yeah, the Orc Shaman, if you take the weird knob versus the weird boy, he does get to leadership 8. Yeah,
that is great. That is actually great. He could even be the general then, because the war boss is also 8.
As long as you don't take the black orc. I think the black orc.
Well, you can't. He's not in this list. So there you go.
You're right. He's not in the list. Yeah. So the normal orc bosses only go up to 8. Yeah. The only way to get to 9, I think, besides an item, is the black orc war boss.
Okay, so
Yeah.
troll tongue is just also that your shamans and of both kinds can have troll magic if they want. That's pretty cool.
It's fun magic. Yeah,
There
it's
is
fun magic.
some great stuff in there. Okay, we have the special characters. Now, both of them are good. Um,
Hmm.
they're also both really well suited to the Army of Infamies that you get. So, similar to how like Core Hill came out for High Elves and then for the Crace list, and then Ishiaves came out for like uh, the Sea Guard one that I never even remember exists. So you have that same kind of vibe. So you have Kicknick, Tooth Snatcha. I did the Orc voice a little bit.
Excellent.
We have a weapon skill 5 Goblin. That's great.
He's honestly he's really good. Like, I wish I could. I don't think could you take him in Grand Army? I don't know that you
I
can.
think let's no, because
Does it
that's usually what they say is that he is a Goblin war boss. So anytime you have a Goblin war boss, you can take him, right?
I'm not sure, but he's awesome for 105 points. He really is.
The reason why people don't usually is because otherwise you don't really have that much of the ambushing, right? Because what he does is he gives
Correct.
a single Goblin Wolf Rider mob +or -1 to their ambushers roll.
Yep.
Oh, so 0 to 1 can have ambushers for free. So if you take him in the Grand Army, you can bring 1 mob in ambush, right?
Yeah. Let me look
And
it up.
then you get the +or -1 to any of the Goblin Wolf Rider mobs when they're showing up in ambush, which, by the way, you can bring quite a lot of Goblin Wolf Rider mobs in ambush in this list. When they win round of combat, instead of like following up after the enemy you beat in combat, you can instead fall back in good order. So this is giving you the option, by the way, with that other combo of the Close Order and Horde Wolf Riders, to bring a unit of like 20 Wolf Riders, like 4 deep, right? And put Kicknick in there, and you can charge in there, win combat, instead of having to follow up and maybe get caught out of position. You can instead just fall back and reform and face a new direction, which could potentially be very, very useful, especially if you want to flee the next charge and get away. Being kind of be able to create space is useful. The boss's trophy rack. When he charges, the Wolf Rider mob he joined causes fear and gets +1 combat result. So he's really good at getting a really big unit of Wolf Riders to have a decent amount of combat resolution. No one I've ever seen has tried to make that work. I would love to see it. I think because of how cheap the Wolf Riders are, I think that's perfectly fine and you should try it. Fear with unit strength 2, a bunch of cavalry, can actually add up quite quickly. And make it harder for people to charge you, make them harder to hit you with the -1. You have extra combat results here. So that's fine. And he does have a weapon. So he's got a strength +2, AP1, armor rating 2 is one option, or you can use the strength of user but AP2 with multiple wounds too. So you kind of have those 2 profiles. It's not the usual thing where you have like the high strength but kind of strikes last one, or the one that gives you extra attacks. So instead you have kind of a high strength but only 1 damage, or you have the low strength but multiple wounds as those 2
You
options.
can't take. I don't think you can take him in Grand Army.
Really?
Because like it says like for the troll hag beneath it, like specifically says at the bottom of it, Troll Mother, an army made using Orc Goblin Grand Army can use this troll hag, yada 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 yada, as a rare choice, but it doesn't say that under Kicknick. I think that's the problem.
All right. Well, if anyone else, no, it says it right here. Yeah, he's a Goblin war boss. He can be included in any army that includes that option. So in other words, he takes the slot of a Goblin war boss, which aren't limited. So you can just have, he doesn't
You
take
could have
0 to 1 or anything.
Oh, fantastic, great, good, because he's awesome.
Yes.
Yeah. See, there you go for consistency.
Yes, and then we have
one at the top,
Ogdruz.
one at the bottom.
Ogdruz is I've seen quite often because he is a good level 3 wizard. He's got lore familiar. Level 3s are basically, have that same casting bonus and dispels of level 4s now. So not a problem to bring a level 3 anymore. He does get to have like the lore familiar. So that means he does take it so no one else can have it. But what a unique and interesting thing to give a special character. Like, oh, I have lore familiar. Huh. This is an orc who thinks he's a troll, which is always great. All the troll mobs can use his leadership instead of their own. Oh yeah, he gets to hide, so he can't be targeted by shooting or spells when he's within 3 inches of a friendly troll mob. So they don't have to have unit strength, or they don't have to have 5 models for him to hide next to them. They can just be any unit strength, which is really important for trolls, because if there's 3 trolls, they normally wouldn't be able to hide an infantry character, but he can hide next to them. I think you could have just said he could join the trolls, right? I don't know why he couldn't just join the trolls. Yeah, and when they're within 3 inches of a friendly troll mob with unit strength 6 or more, he gets to +1 to cast. So this, by the way, is normally orc wizards do get to have this anyway from having orc boys that they're joining.
Orc
so
boys.
This is kind of, he gets to do it with trolls instead, which is a very thematic vibe. Really helps to get any bonuses to cast at all. So this will be +3 to cast if you're near a big troll unit. Unit strength 6, by the way, is just, that means there's at least 2 trolls. That's it, just 2. That's not very many.
No.
Okay, he also has +1 armor save and regen 5+ and flammable. So he's wearing troll. He's wearing what Troll Hide should have been, which is regen 5+ and flammable, but it doesn't have flammable for everyone else. And he has a decent little great weapon staff that's kind of like the Bray staff that someone has there. Oh, and he gets. Oh, if he does damage in combat, he heals himself. I've never seen that ever happen. That's interesting.
Because he's a wizard, so you don't want him. If he's in combat, you're doing something wrong.
Yes. Oh, and he has Champas, but he has a magic weapon, so I guess he's not going to use that. Yeah. I think that he comes up quite a lot. He does have elemental and troll magic. And what's funny, because he has lore familiar, he actually gets to pick his spells from both of these combined. You can use this either one. You can have Wind Blast and Big Smarts, and then pick one more. Okay, so a Troll Hag. A Troll Hag is a monster, behemoth, 235 points. Now, I'm sorry. They can buy items. What? Did I not know that? I didn't know that. Why do people never do that? Okay, yes, they can purchase magic items.
You can. No, people have done that. I've seen it. Yeah.
Okay. I usually run up to the Troll Hag and I use my Dragon Slayer sword and I just kill them and they have no ward save. But apparently you could buy items, so I don't. Okay, interesting. So you're level 1 wizard, which used to be garbage, but now totally fine. You can upgrade yourself to be level 2. The best part about being level 1 is that you can just have another Troll Smarts person probably, or Battle Magic being another Hammerhand person, perfectly fine. You have Troll Vomit, so that's still that special rule, and Swamp Breath, and Scaly Skin is heavy armor. But the main reason you're here is because of that crazy table of all your attacks, right? Because your attacks are just nuts. You do have Stomp attacks as well. You have D6 Stomp attacks, and your Behemoths, those are AP2. You have Terror and Timber and Unbreakable, so you can't run away at all. You do have Regen built in. Everything you see that has Toughness, 5 or 6, lots of wounds, and has Regen baked in, you're immediately like, oh god, I bet Games Workshop didn't have this be enough points, because that's kind of that gigantic Chaos Spawn thing. As soon as you have Regen 5 up on a monster, it's usually very, very good. Okay. During command phase, she gets to scoop people into her mouth. I haven't played against a Troll Hag in like a year. Wow. So they take initiative tests, awesome. And if you fail, she scoops a bunch of warriors into her mouth and eats them, and they just die. And then she gets to recover health from that. And this is not just her attacks; like she does other attacks on top of that, right? There's another table on the next table, or on the next page. So Motherly Love, everyone just loves getting to roll on this, because you always are kind of really hoping to get one of these 3 results, and you never get the one you want. It's always funny when you put a template over the dragon and you do 1 hit or something. So Smother is the 5-inch blast template over the enemy unit, and any enemy or friendly unit that's under it gets hit with strength of this model, strength 6, AP2. That is a lot. Does it even scatter? No.
What? No.
So when you put the large blast template over the unit, it doesn't even scatter.
Everything on that table is awesome. Okay,
then so that's Smother. Mother is you get to just nominate a single model in the fighting rank. That model suffers D3 +1 wounds with no armor or regen saves allowed. So if I have a character in my fighting rank, you don't even roll the hit, I just die. Jesus Christ.
Yep. To Troll Hag, Motherly Love.
Okay, and then Mither. Troll Hag bombards the enemy with a tirade of slaps. So they suffer D6 +1 hits using the strength character. So none of these rolled the hit. None of these are I try to roll a hit. By the way,
she is basically a giant, but better with regen, with amazing attacks and magic, and you can give her items. She is fantastic.
Wow. So I think the main thing we're seeing though is just most monsters are just not being taken right now, because I think that this would be a great unit to bring with Orcs and Goblins, but we don't see it very often, and I think that they'd be.
But again, it's the troll tax.
Yeah. Oh, you have to bring. But couldn't you just bring a unit of 1 troll?
Yeah, but that's almost 50 points. So it's like 235 base. Then you want to put on like a 40-point ward save or something else. Okay, now you're 245 or whatever. Plus, if you give her another upgrade, her level or whatever the other upgrade is, now you got to pay another 45 points for the troll tax. Suddenly you're rocking 400 points. Now she could often be worth her weight in gold and 400 points. She's very hard to remove from the table, but it's a big points investment.
Yeah, so this last one, by the way, was D6 plus 1 hits at strength 6 with no armor saves. And you get -1 leadership. So I think the first two are very good if you roll them against the right opponent. You really want Mother when you have a big monster fighting you, or there's an enemy character in the front rank, because it doesn't even say in base contact. If it's just in the fighting rank, they do that. Wow. And does she count as a character? She only counts as a character in. She only counts as a character in the Troll army. Otherwise, she's not. So she can't be challenged out.
Otherwise, she's not a character, right?
So ironically, she's way better in the Grand Army, because then she's not a character, can't be challenged, can go eat my Archmage, and I can't do anything about it.
Yep. Just.
Ouch. Okay.
I mean, the Mither's pretty good too.
So your Warp Skill 2, but you're -1 to be hit. So that's basically exactly the same as if your Warp Skill 4. If you don't know.
Right. But which is fine for defense, but you see for her offense, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, she doesn't use it. And then she still has the regular Troll Vomit, and Swamp Breath is a breath weapon. I love breath weapons, by the way. I love breath weapons.
Yeah, they're fun.
Okay, and that's the part where it says that you can take her as a rare choice. Fantastic. So then we have more units here. Most of these are mercenary units. Because again, the other list we took, the only new unit that's a fully new unit is the Black Orc Chariot, right? Because otherwise, everything else in here is kind of like some mercenaries, which is fine, because mercenaries are great.
Well,
I think that
Kitnik.
So yeah, so
the
there's
Black Orc Chariot Kitnik.
Yeah, but I mean like rank about. We don't have
just the chariot.
Yeah, we don't have the kind of special units you usually see. So Badland Ogre Bulls, we can kind of skip over. They're ogres who have motley crew, but otherwise they're just Iron Guts or Bulls kind of mixed together. Which is fine. You can do that. When you take a mercenary unit, though, they can't use your general's leadership, so you have just a leadership 7 mercenary unit who can't really improve that in any way. I think that's the big problem. If you try to give them leadership in any way, it'd be cool. You can't. So.
Nope.
Black Orc Chariots. Oh yeah, by the way, the only way to give them leadership is for you to bring the Empire character.
Yep.
So
what's his name?
I have the model. I should remember. Okay, Black Orc Chariot. This is what I'm hyped about. 130 points. So it's like 45 more points than the regular Orc, because the regular Orc Boar Chariot is like 85 points. Like it's cheap, right? Or is it 100?
Yeah. I'll go look it up.
You know what's crazy, Mike? If you give the Boar Chariot the Savage Orc upgrade because it has Frenzy, then you have a lot, and you can have a 3rd rider too. It makes it a little bit more expensive, but you're still T5, and then you have like 6 rider attacks when you charge. You have like 6 attacks with the Cav Spear.
Again, the Orc Boar Chariot is great. It's a T5 chariot. It's 4 wounds. It's a 3-up save instead of a 4-up save, but it's a heavy chariot. It does D6+1 impact hits. It has first charge. They have choppas still, and it's still got the Tuskors. It's a really good chariot.
So you know what this has that High Elves don't have is that the Black Orcs who are riding on it, because regular Black Orcs have Furious Charge, right? The Black Orcs who are riding on the chariot still get the Furious Charge. White Lions, because of an FAQ, got to have Furious Charge, but the White Lions riding the White Lion chariot don't. So
because the Orcs are the best. We've been over this.
And this is only 5 more points than a White Lion chariot, but it's toughness 5 instead, and you can still buy some great weapons and have choppas, so you're basically just a much better White Lion chariot. Oh, and you have better armor set too. So there you go. So compared to a White Lion chariot, this is way better. This is awesome. I think this is a great unit that never sees play because people are always, oh, if I play Nomadic Waaagh, I have to bring Boar Boys and Core, because otherwise they don't score. What a bummer. And look, we've been talking about this for 2 years now. It used to be things like, it wasn't about core scoring. It was about like, units being able to not die and not give up their points or whatever. So now it's you can see how the meta really gets adapted over time because of those missions. Bone Grinder Giant, a fun profile that I used heavily for my inspiration when I wrote the Dread Saurian rules, because I thought someone needed to be able to bring their giant. Dread Saurian is like 10 pounds and it's like this big. But yeah, so we have a mega monster. This is even bigger than a regular behemoth. It's got 8 wounds, toughness 6, right? So it really surpassed that. No other model could be more than 6 wounds if it's not a character. And so that's quite good. Base strength 7. Still weapon skill 3. And then we have a lot of special rolls. D6+1 stomps and terror, timber, and unbreakable. So we're still an unbreakable giant. That's great. I think that when you compare the regular giant, who's like 200, to this one for 300, a lot of the time I like this more, but people just really like bringing 2 giants. And if you bring this guy, it's harder to bring 2 giants, right?
Yeah, it just depends on what you're trying to do. So it's either you're doing the 2 giant, combo wombo, or you're gonna take just one bone crusher, which is also fun.
Okay, so the giant attacks. The best thing about this is you don't have to roll to see whether you end up getting the right um, table or the right result versus the enemy you're fighting. Instead, who you're fighting against changes which table you roll on. So there's a little things table, a big things table, and a bigger things table. And that's great because then your table you roll on is still random and fun, but instead it's focused around the kind of enemy you want to fight, right? So when you roll against the little things, sometimes these results
Pros
are
and
insane.
cons.
Yeah.
Some of these results are incredible. The cons are now you need to have it carry another chart with you because now, it's already hard enough. Now you have to remember 3 different charts for 3 different things for this model. So it's just different.
Yeah, and Mighty Swing is on 2 of the different results, and Crush Underfoot's on 2 of the results, Vomit's on 2 results. So they're not unique to each table. They can be shared. Yeah. I think that's fun, though. I do really like when I'm like, great, what does my unit do? And I got to go open the book. That's always a fun moment, I think. When I'm playing Empire, I never have to do that. I have nothing that fun. Wow, okay, wow, we've got a whole page of rules. Jesus Christ. So these are all of the different attack types. Crush Underfoot, you have the 5-inch large blast template, strength 7, AP 3. Ouch. That's this doesn't scatter either. We have another non-scattering template. Wow, Orcs Goblins, they really figured it out. Why do all of the magical assailant spells, like the template starts there and then it scatters? Like, if it just stayed there, it'd be, fine.
What do you mean?
So there's a lot of like assailant spells that use templates where you put it over the enemy unit and then it scatters and then it just misses their unit. Whereas this, like, it just stays right over them, so it doesn't even.
I think they were testing out some things with templates and vortexes in this edition, and I think there are aspects of it that are more interesting than previous editions. But I think there's definitely, they've had to revise them multiple times. I still think the order in which they trigger and move, we talked about this before, is still confusing. So I think there's a lot of room for improvement for the way vortexes work in the next edition.
All right, so we have Ed Butt. So that's another one of the results. You just pick. They suffer D3 + 1 wounds with no armor or regen save, and that does carry over to multiple models because of the unit suffers them. So you can just instantly kill several knights or something.
Mm-hmm.
Or a monster loses all of those wounds or whatever. Wow. Mm-hmm. Now that I'm looking at these results on these tables, I'm like, maybe I do need to make sure I have a 5-up ward on my dragon, because normally I do run just the regen and I try to bring other stuff, but this looks, if you don't have a word save, you can be nasty on these tables.
Yeah, but also if you're on a dragon, then the bone grinders shouldn't be catching you. Like, you're doing something wrong with the bone grinder.
No, Mike, because I brought the Dragon Slayer sword, so I'm charging you, and I'm bringing on this fight. We're doing it.
Oh, well, okay. Well, yeah, the bone grinders, like, bring it.
Yeah, no, then I'm scared. Okay, so we have Grind Its Bones. Oh no, rank upon rank. I think this was the one that I got when the bone grinder was fighting my great swords, and I think he killed 11 with this result. Is this the one? Everyone in the fighting rank, so that's now 2 ranks of models, by the way, has to take an initiative test. If they fail it, they just get eaten. They're just dead. There's no save.
This was written before the 151 rules came out, so it was only meant to be the front rank. But now with 151, if you're against infantry, oops.
Well, that's perfectly fine. But man, if you're dwarves and you're initiative 2, oh boy. But I had Empire, but I was 8 wide because I was greatswords, so I wanted to bring a lot.
See, there's the advantage swords. To be high elf with that higher initiative. Less of you will get caught by the bone grinders eating you.
Yeah, 1 in every 35 games when someone makes you take an initiative test, you're like, oh, thank God.
Yeah, initiative tests are fine. I wish they were used more often in the game, but they're just pretty rare when they come up.
You know what Stomp should be? Initiative test or you get hit.
That would be, I like that idea a lot.
Also, a Stomp should be every model in base contact tests. So instead of it being D6, D3 + 3, whatever, so that's all really, one character is way better than the other. It's just anyone base contact, you take the initiative test, you fail it, you get hit. That's it.
Yeah, you know what? That's not too shabby an idea, sir.
Almost like I'm
I
an
like it.
absolute psychopath and want to rewrite the rules myself. Okay. Bone Grinder Giant swings its club at enemies. So you get D6 plus 1 hits, right? And it's strength
Mhm.
plus 1. So now we're strength 8, AP2, which just when it just automatically hits.
Yep. Thunk.
Oh, remember,
You see the size of the model? He's enormous.
but so what this guy is really, really good at is anything except getting shot at. So the main problem with him is that he
Yep.
literally always gets shot. Now, I was playing against
Yep.
Darren at one of our most recent events. And he brought the bone grinder, and I said, I am playing Empire, and I have 2 cannons. And I said, I promise, I'm not going to shoot it to death before we get to combat. And he's like, oh, thank God, it always dies before it gets to combat. So we did get to
It
combat.
does.
We had a great fight between the great swords and the bone grinder, and the bone grinder killed 22 great swords, and the great swords almost killed the bone grinder. It had like 1 wound left, I think. So it was a great fight. So then we have Vomit, Flame Templates. So this is probably the only one people usually don't want. Like, I love Flame Templates. But this is, normally you do this Flame Template over, a dragon, you get 1 hit or 1 partial hit, and you're like, geez, that sucks. I think the Flame Template getting partial hits is a big miss, because it never gets a full hit. Like, how are you ever going to put a Flame Template over a full base, right? Good Strength 5 AP2 on that. That's fine. Perfectly fine, but all of the other results are better than that one. Then we have Wallop. Oh, this one, I've had this one happen to the dragon before too. It's strength plus 3, so that means strength 10, AP4, and multiple wounds 2d3. So do you have to roll to hit with this one? This is the only one you have to roll to hit with your weapon skill?
The bone grinder makes a single attack
Yes.
against the target. Yep, you have to roll to hit.
Okay, so you have to roll to hit, but it is strength 10, AP4, and 2d3 wounds. Fun.
Owie.
Fun. Very fun. Okay. They point out who can take it. Dogs of War. It can be Orcs and Goblins, Warriors of Chaos, and Beastmen Brayherds. So Beastmen and Warriors of Chaos can bring a bone grinder. That's usually the way. If you have a War Mammoth, you just say, "Hey, here's my War Mammoth," and use the bone grinder rules, whatever. Cool. So then we have the hey, you get a new lore of magic. I love getting new lores of magic. Big Smarts is all about rerolling your stupidity tests. So whenever you're playing the Troll Horde, you basically just have to bring that. By the way, you can take Big Smarts with the Wizarding Hat. So if you use the Wizarding Hat, you can then pick Big Smarts as your spell. You can make yourself stupid and then get a reroll against it for 45 points. All right. Magic Missiles. We have an Acidic Biles. This is a 3-inch template that scatters, and it's a magic missile that's strength 3 AP2. So this is just Doombolt, but it scatters. So that's worse, because Doombolt is dark magic, and it's the same exact thing, except it doesn't scatter. Troll Brains remains in play. The enemy becomes stupid. So, great idea. You have a remains in play stupidity. But the problem is, remains in play is actually a big nerf for this, because now you have 2 chances to dispel it before the stupidity kicks in.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
If it wasn't remains in play, it'd be better.
It is punishing where there are things in the game that work really, really well with remains in play, and it gives you immediate benefits, and then your opponent has a chance to stop it on their turn. If not, you still get to benefit from, and that feels great. But there are versions, and then there are things that's like, well, it just it's cast until the end of your turn or the next turn, and those are good too. But because your opponent doesn't have the ability to dispel them. But here's an example where really to get the benefit of this, you really want to remains in play so it keeps going, but they have a chance to actually stop it. So actually, the way the dice and the rules work, you'd be better off recasting it every single turn and it just lasts until the start of your next turn. Therefore, your opponent doesn't have a chance to dispel it. So this is one of those situations where I get why they made the decisions they made, but it doesn't feel good in practice.
I think that it's just most hexes that remains in play are just not great, but
they're not. They that's definitely a miss in this edition. There's some, there are some good ones, but most of the remains in play one they feel off for this edition.
So there's Ravenous Recourse. By the way, the other problem with it is that people are much more likely to remember to try to dispel the hex than they are when I cast like a remains in play enchantment. Then they just don't remember to try to dispel it. And I have learned that you really shouldn't just remind people to do that because it's kind of on them. If I have a spell card right next to my unit sitting there, it's remains in play, they need to remember. All right, Ravenous Recourse. So this one is everyone within 12 inches that has stupidity gets +2 movement. Extra movement helps you make charges happen, so that's good. I do think that maybe you could do more than that, like Fierce Charge on your trolls would be great, but no. It just does movement, but movement is very important, so that's always great. And you can have now area movement 8, so you can do 16-inch march, which is great. You have Fetid Whirlpool, which is a remains in play 3-inch blast template. You can place it pretty far away. It moves d6 inches in a random direction, and any unit that's the moving template touches gets d3+3, strength 4, AP2 hits. That's a lot of hits. This is actually just better than Pillar of Fire, right? Because Pillar of Fire now is random, so it's kind of bad. And this is more hits and they're higher strength.
Yeah.
This is good. I think this is a good spell. Torrent to Filth, flame template, narrow into the catcher's base. Oh, so this is an assailment flame template. I love assailment flame templates. And this one's strength 3 AP2. So it's very similar to the one from Dark Magic. We have a second spell that's very similar to Dark Magic.
Yep.
And finally, we have an enchantment that's rapid regeneration. So that's a flammable and regen 5-up special rule on a unit that you target. So I think the best thing to do is you give this to your Savage Orcs so that your Savage Orc blob has the 6-up ward save and the 5-up regen save that they re-roll. Okay? Dude, I want to play that list now.
It's a great list. That's why everyone was playing it. And it's really fun to play.
No, Mike. I'm saying you take the Troll Horde, but you take no trolls. Like, you take the bare minimum of troll, and it's all Savage Orcs.
Now I'm sad. Now you just made me sad.
Yes.
No,
yes.
You have to have some trolls. You can't have no
Savage
trolls.
Orc
There's
fan.
always some trolls.
Yes, there's the 2
You
chaff
can do
trolls
Savage Orcs, but you should have some trolls.
Okay, there's the 2 chaff trolls that I use like Great Eagles, right? And then I have rapid regeneration. I just lore familiar that, and I get that on my Savage Orcs, right? Dude, hey, you know what? You can give Savage Orcs more movement as long as you just put a Stupidity Hat wizard in there. So if you take a Wizarding Hat on some guy, stick him in that unit, now they can have the more movement too. Oh, man. So dumb. Okay. All right, we get more magic items. I think there's some really good ones in here. I think bigger, choppier axe isn't that bad. You got Killing Blow, strength +2, AP2. That's pretty good. It's very hard for the orc characters to compete with. I have the Choppa's rule on my regular weapon, which just makes it usually just way better than a magic weapon, right? Oh, and we continue with all of the magic weapons in the Orcs and Goblins book. Like, basically none of them say, this is only for orcs, this is only for goblins. They didn't do that. They're all just whatever, which is kind of nuts.
Yep. Because orcs are the best.
Okay, I think it's the Grand Army magic weapon that's the one that gets taken a lot. That gives you the D6 attacks. That one's pretty interesting. Or but it's not this one, right? Because this one's just Killing Blow, and I love Killing Blow, but no one else does. So
it's just too contextual. But Dead Art Armor, that's great.
Yeah. Well, it's very contextual, and also there's just not a lot of infantry and cavalry characters in the game. Like, the vast majority of characters
in the current meta,
yeah,
not as much.
They're usually on mounts, which means then Killing Blow just doesn't work versus them. So yeah.
Yep. Yeah, I think the game would be a lot better, or you'd be less penalized if Killing Blow. Like, let's say, okay, let's just say there's still Killing Blow, monsters Killing Blow, but if you have the other and it's not versus the right thing, if you still got like +1 wound or something, so versus it just does nothing. But it's like, okay, I have Killing Blow, but you're on a dragon. Okay, well, I rolled a 6. Well, I don't kill you outright, but guess what? You at least don't get your armor save, and it does 2 wounds instead of 1. If it did that, that would feel so much better than it just does nothing.
I really like where you're going with that, because having it be context for only against certain targets really isn't that great, especially because Killing Blow is... So I think Monster Slayer makes sense, that it's very specific targets. Great, that makes sense. This one being limited to only regular troops and things makes it a lot less valuable.
It's just frustrating.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. But I think that we've learned a lot. Like, remember that 8th edition, every character was on foot. There was no characters mounted on anything. Okay, so Black Orc bosses and Orc bosses. Okay, finally, so they proved me wrong immediately. There's one that's only for Black Orc and Orc bosses, right? But this is armor that you can have when you're on cavalry or chariot. It gives, it's a full plate armor set and improves your toughness by 1. So hey, you know what? If you want to make the war boss on a pig happen, I don't see how you're not taking this set. Yeah, or the chariot.
It's really good.
I called it a pig.
T6, it's great.
Yeah. Or if you have a small game size where you definitely can't use the wyvern. By the way, I think the orc war boss, because he has warband, like you can actually give him like he can get leadership 10 when he's in the unit, right? And the Orc Warboss is
Yeah.
a very similar stat line to the Beast Lord from Beastmen, and I bring him all the time. So I think that the regular Orc
Oh, the
Warboss.
Black Orc Warboss is up there. He's not a Chaos Lord, but he's up there with the Duke
Okay, so Mike, I'm
and
talking about the
he's
regular
really
Orc.
good.
I'm saying the regular Orc isn't
Oh,
that
the
bad.
regular Orc's almost as good as the Black Orc. Like
Yeah.
he's only off by like leadership and like let me look it up. Like his stat differentiation is very minimal.
Right. And the regular Orc
I think
Warboss
maybe
can
weapon
get to leadership
skill.
10 with a Warband brick that he's joined to. That's
Okay, so there's so many units. Orc bosses. So the difference is weapon skill, leadership, initiative, ballistic skills are relevant. So that's it. So just those three. And yeah, he's still very good.
yeah, but and then the main thing is that the Orc Warboss does have Warband, so if he's in a brick of guys that have
Mhm,
Warband, like regular Orcs
mhm.
or Boar Boys, then they can improve his leadership to 10, which the Black Orc doesn't get to have.
Correct.
Um,
Correct.
yeah. Okay, so the magic standards are a big hit in this book in particular. So we've got Angry Lad's Flag gives you Frenzy, so you can just take. So first of all, you can have the armored Boar Boys, right? Take this banner, and now they have Frenzy. Now you have a Frenzied Boar Boys with Furious Charge. That's basically Wild Riders. There you go.
Mhm.
Or you can have the Savage Orc Boar Boys who don't have the armor anymore, but do have the word save. Either way, you have Spider Banner. This one gives you the poison attacks with +1 to wound. So Spider Banner was one of the things that caused a massive problem in the meta because you had 70 goblins with bows and they all had poison. And for a little while there, they tried to fix the game by giving every single rank of models could fire against large targets. Oh my god, that was a bad idea. But that's kind of a thing of the past because poison is now just not that great anymore. It really nerfed the crap out of it. The banner of the nomads is pretty neat. So you get reroll the ones on the charges before the discarding the dice. That can be really helpful because when you're trying to make those charges through terrain and you roll a 1 and a 6, and you have to take the 1 and you just fail it, it can actually lose the game. So not a bad shout. Britonia just gets this for free. But you know, you can always bring 2 banners by having a BSB join the unit, right?
Mhm.
Wait, can the BSB? The BSB can take the Dead Art armor and be toughness 6, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, he can be tough, and then he can have a 2-up save because he's on a boar and have a shield. So then he can have a 2-up save with toughness 6. That's pretty good.
That's very good.
Okay, and finally, Banner of the Wilds is get moved through cover. That's not great. I think it's the core army book banners I'm also thinking about. There's a lot of good ones in there too.
Yep.
Okay, and then for the enchanted items, we've got a Necklace of Blessed Teeth, which is just a classic reroll an armor ward or regen save of 1. I've never seen anyone take this because it's like 50 points, and then you potentially also need to have those other saves too, which you can't fit if you buy this really expensive item. We've seen a lot of these items like the Grizzly Trophy Rack, which is like -1 leadership nearby. It's not really that great unless you can have multiple different sources of lowering leadership, which are pretty tricky to come by unless you take like a Necromancy Night Goblin wizard. And then the Thinking Orcs is pretty funny. I remember there was a time where it's very silly to me that the orcs had a way to turn off their impetuousness, and the High Elf Dragon Princess did not. Now that's the whole leadership based thing. It's much less of a thorn in anyone's side, I think, right? But you do see this item every once in a while, especially if you have like a big Death Star. You definitely don't want running off at the wrong thing. I think we see a few of the Staff of Badooms just because the casting results are so difficult to get to now. So plus D3 modifier is quite nice, even if you're risking a lot of potential damage coming back your way.
Yeah. I mean, there's more risk there, but it's very powerful. And for 55 points, it's good. It's good.
Mm-hmm. And I guess so if you double 1 or double 6, you put a 5-inch blast over yourself. And I guess if you are on like a Wyvern, for example, you could actually be perfectly happy putting a blast template over yourself where you might not take any damage, but the enemy loses half their unit. I know my Swordmasters wouldn't enjoy this happening to them. Yeah, and then Idol of Gork. This is a Continuing the theme of the arcane items, I think for the Orcs Goblins being really, really good, this is another one that increases their spell range by 3 inches. There's one that increases the dispel range as well in the core book, so now you
Yep.
can kind of go either way. And just range of spells is such an incredibly important factor, especially with something like Itchy Nuisance. So,
It's rare to find items like that, and increasing it by 3 inches and getting a reroll to your cast. Um,
oh,
once per, it's only once per turn, but for 40 points, that item is fantastic.
yeah, it's when you're a hex focused wizard that's critical. So if you have an elementalism goblin shaman with Itchy Nuisance and maybe Plague Rust or whatever, that's fantastic. Or even illusion where you're trying to do any illusion spell. Usually they have short range, so that's great. We see this item a lot, and I always go, yeah, that's the item I always see, and I don't know what it does, and now I do, and wow, that's scary. Okay. Yeah, and then the Hag's Brew. Never heard of this. So just different shamans. In addition to Lords of Magic, they know Troll Magic. Yeah, I mean, I don't think you generally need this because you can just take Ogdras if you really want to do that. But yeah, if you did want to do... Wait, why is this so expensive compared to, like, the Wood Elf one that gives you the other lore is like 10 points or something? This is very expensive. Interesting. But maybe they learned from their balancing changes, and in Wood Elves and Beastmen, they kind of reduced the cost of those so they weren't as much. And that's literally it. So there was a couple of great items in there. Definitely overall, the Orcs and Goblins have amazing units, very amazing items. You have just such a variety of durability or damage output. I think the only thing is that your Orc characters usually are like, well, if I buy a magic sword, I don't get the Choppa's rule, and the Choppa's rule is damn nice. So they just don't usually do it, right?
Yeah, that's definitely for me. My experience is I'd rather take other items, defense items, armor or wards or arcane or something else. But the chop is just such a good rule. I'll just keep the spears on the boar boys, the cavalry spears, or I'll just use the great weapon on the black orc, or even just a night goblin war boss on the giant cave squig with the well, he doesn't get the chopper rule because it's only an orc thing. But
Yeah,
again, for the orcs, it's amazing. So it's really, you look at it for the goblins, but again, you really are, you want to have a horde army typically, and you want to spread out your points. I'd like to definitely spread it out in the orc army. So typically don't want to spend too many on one character.
absolutely. All right, and that's literally it. So we've got two very useful Armor's Infamy. This is one of the very, very much fantastic Arcane Journals that added a lot of life to the faction, and we certainly hope that there's going to be this kind of second wave of Arcane Journals to address, just adding some more stuff to the core 9 armies. I think that we've gotten like 5 Cathayan releases, and we're like, so can other people get stuff too? And Orcs and Goblins would love to have literally anything. I think they wouldn't turn down in any gifts you want to give them. So
Yeah, but definitely one of the best arcane journals. Certainly top three. Certainly contention for the first or second place. It's really, really strong, and they did a fantastic job with this. I wish most of the other arcane journals were as strong as this one was. It's really, really good. I think its weakest side is certainly the marauder, the tribe, the nomadic Waaagh isn't as strong necessarily or as fun. The troll list is just so fun, so unique, so special, and so different. So that's a high bar that they set on that. It was really, really cool. Plus new items, tons of new items, tons of new abilities. It's just and new characters, new units that could be used for orcs and some mercenary units outside of orcs. This is what we'd want out of every arcane journal. Definitely one of the best. Evan, any last closing thoughts, sir?
just that you guys gotta stay legendary. See you on the next one.
All right, next time.